All right, welcome you back to the Papa South Paint Party. Today I thought I'd do a nice little painting that I did for my grandma maybe about a year ago or so. I'm going to try to do a little recreation of it. So this is a how to do wet painting kind of Bob Ross style. If you're a fan of Bob Ross, most of us grew up with him. I'm going to show you the step-by-steps on how to do it. Again, it's a lot easier than you think, and you'd be amazed if you just kind of follow him on TV and follow a little Pop of the South while you're at it. You'd be surprised at some of the amazing creations you can make. So I'm going to run down some of the colors that we're going to use for this one, and we're going to get into our brushes and get to it. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this one. Today, we're going to be using a little bit of red, a little bit of the Prussian blue. I just love saying Prussian blue. A little bit of the cad yellow. You can use some black and some white. That should pretty much be it for this one. We're going to do a beautiful little sunset mountain kind of range thing going on today. I think you're really going to love it. That's really what you're going to need. Now let's get to the brushes that you're going to use. 2 and 3 inch brushes. Make sure you use one that's dedicated just for blending. There's going to be all sorts of blending in this one. So when you're using one for blending, leave it for blending. Otherwise, everything's going to start streaking all over your painting, and you don't want to do that. Mixing knife. Mountain knives. Again, we're going to do a little mountain range today. Everybody just loves the mountains. I don't think I've ever done a painting without a mountain, and I'm going to try that today too. Fan brushes. Use a little bit of a bigger one, a little bit of a smaller one. Depends on what we're going to be doing. Probably a little bit of tree range in the background and some closer up pine trees. Filbert brushes. One biggie, one small one. Rounder brush. Always good for doing those little bushes in the foreground and such. Liner brush. You always want a little liner brush. Gotta sign your signature at the end and make a couple of reeds and stuff like that throughout the water. Of course, we're going to do a little water, have the sunset reflect in the water. Gonna look great. And of course, odorless paint thinner. You don't want to be getting high on your fumes. Remember, don't dump it down the sink when you're done. Take it to the proper disposal area. Don't want to be hurting our little animal friends out there in the ecosystem and the environment. Odorless paint thinner. Never forget your linseed oil. That's what's going to make your paint flow as you're going back and forth with your brushes. Without it, it's absolute nightmare. If you ever wonder how Bob Ross does it so seamlessly, linseed oil, any oil painter will tell you this is what you need. Again, we're doing oil paint. It's not acrylic. That's a totally different animal. So let's get to our little painting. Whole canvas, 12 by 24, stretched white prime. It's completely covered in linseed oil, a little bit more than last week. So my paints are still a little bit cold. It's going to help it flow a little bit more. So if you're using a canvas this size, use a good healthy amount of it. Brush it on. Don't let it dry. And we can get to our painting. Going to start by mixing a little bit of white, a little bit of yellow, not a whole lot of that yellow in there. Yellows and reds, super dangerous. You're using pinches of this stuff. Otherwise, your whole painting is going to be on fire. Again, just a pinch. You can see how little yellow I'm using on this right now. And even that's looking like a little much, but I think we can get away with it. Gonna add the slightest bit more of white. We want like a really kind of pasty color going on here. Bigger canvas, gonna start with my 3-inch thick brush. It's usually good for a blender brush. I'm gonna use the 2-inch for blending today just because it's my cleanest one. That with a little filter in there, just so when I'm cleaning off my brushes, I have something to scrape it against. I'm going to use the littlest bit of paint thinner on this white and yellow because it's still just a tad cold. And so just dip in the corner into it, add it there, help thin it out a little. I'm going to start in the top corner and we're going to progressively get darker as we go to the other side. When you do this, you want to do little X motions. Makes it easier for blending. You'll leave little patterns in the sky where you won't be able to see this on the camera when you see it at home. Even though we're going to do some clouds over it, it'll still look like faint little distant clouds in the background. So here we go. Now, at home, you won't be able to see what I got on there because it is fairly faint. I do assure you that there is some white and yellow on there. When it's all done, you're going to see the painting come together. And this is the painting you see at the beginning of the video. So like I said, right now you cannot see it on there, but trust me, it's on there and it's going to look beautiful when it's done. And take some of that same color and then across the bottom, you're going to go sideways because it is going to reflect in your water. And when you're doing water, always sideways. You don't want your water draining out of the bottom of your picture, so make sure you keep that fairly horizontal. All right, to that, we're gonna add the slightest little bit of red, maybe a little bit more of the yellow as well. We're gonna try to make a little bit more of an orangey color. So, again, slightest bit. You don't want your painting catching fire. As you can see, as I'm starting to blend, that's a lot of red in there. So we're gonna take some of that cad yellow, mix it in there as well. I need a lot more of that. Said we're already going on fire here. Add a little bit of white to that, a whole lot of white. So let's use a little healthy size there. And again, white, I can't stress it enough, stock up on your white oil paints. Doesn't matter what scene you're doing, you're gonna need the white. So if you're grabbing one big tube of something, make sure it's the white. What you're looking for here is kind of like a creamy kind of orangey, peachy kind of color. Again, it's the sunset and we want to be able to fade into darkness. So with that, same brush as we were already using, good healthy amount of color. As you can see, it's kind of peachy band-aid color, and again, little X's. And then we're going to add a little bit to it in our watercolor at the bottom, so about part way. And again, make sure you're going sideways. We don't want our water draining out of the picture. Leave a little bit of white in the middle there. We'll blend over it later. It's going to give you the illusion of sunlight coming through. Again, you can't really see the yellow up here and or down here, but it'll show up at home when you're doing this. All right, tricky part. Again, we don't want to set the whole sky on fire, but I'm going to add a little bit of red to this peachy color. Yeah, not a whole lot. This is probably too much. So we'll take a quick look. As you can see, that red really is distinct. So I'm going to take a little bit of that yellow. Try to tone it down just a little bit. Get more of a pinky color. Take some white. Stretch it out just a bit. So you got a nice little kind of pinky. It's not as dark as this here. Again, I put the corner of my brush into a little thinner because my paints are a little thick right now. Just thin it out a little, but same dirty brush. Stock it up with some nice color. See, nice little pink there. Again, little X's. And again, for the water, I want to just sideways. All right, take the littlest bit of Prussian blue. It is very heavy, just kind of like the reds and the yellows. So just a little corner of it. See just that little tip there. Try to blend that in. Again, you can see how distinct that is, so I'm going to add a little red to that. I want to try to make a bit of a purpley color. We'll little white. Couple of edits in this video, so you really just want to make it kind of a nice mauve kind of color. Same dirty brush. We will wind up cleaning off this brush, but for right now it's good. See, nice little purpley color. Again, little X's. And again, for your water, you're going to come from the side. Again, you don't want that water falling out of the bottom of your painting, so always keep it horizontal. Alright, and clean off that brush. Again, odorless paint thinner, little strainer in the bottom so I can scrape. Now, I know you always see Bob Ross bang this off the side of his easel. Papa said can't be doing that. Just got my floors redone, just got my walls painted, so just gonna scrape it off against this. Use a little paper towel to clean it off. Dedicated blender brush. This is only what I'm blending with today. So what we want to do, again, little X's, a little sideways, so we can, have a hard time telling where one color starts, one color stops. On the water, when you're going sideways, it's really tough to kind of see here, but it kind of gives that illusion of the water has some movement to it. But again, keep it horizontal. And we got ourselves a nice little sky, a nice little water ridge here. Don't worry about that little bit of white separation. This is going to help you separate your horizon from your water later. All right, now for our almighty mountain. Again, in my life, I don't have much power other than to take out the garbage in my life. But when you're doing this, you have the power to move mountains, as the great Bob Ross would always say. Use a little black, a little white. We got a little red in that. Don't worry about it. The black's going to cover that up for the most part. And being a sunset, we're going to be looking for a little bit of a darker mountain because the sun's coming from behind. So, obviously, black. Chunk of that white. Now, you can use some Van Dyke Brown for this if you want. I just really wanted a chance to say Van Dyke Brown, but a little black, a little white, go a long way for this for you. A nice little gray color. It's coming out a little bit more black on the camera, but I assure you that's some white or grayish color. Got my knife. I'm going to scrape off a little bit of this and just start making the peak of the mountain. Healthy little roll of gray color here. And again, we're just making the peaks. We're going to use one of the 2-inch brushes to help drag it down and create the rest of the mountain. Now you want to try to get rid of some of that excess paint on there. It's looking a little shinier on here, but you do want to try to get rid of some of that excess paint while you're at it. So don't be afraid to scrape a little harder. 2-inch brush. And what we want to do is we want to just kind of pull until we got some mountain shape going here. Always think about the lay of the land, how you want your mountain to flow, where you want your peaks at. You want to do a little blend at the bottom until it kind of disappears into nothingness. And with that, we got the beginning of a happy little mountain. Okay, now we need a little bit of snow on these mountains. Can't do a Bob Ross mountain without a little bit of snow on it. Papa South's technique on the snow, still working on it, but again, you want to take your knife, have like a little bit of a pinch, and the finger right about there, and we're gonna chicken wing this. So take a little bit of the white, slightest bit of red. You don't want to be doing Mordor from Lord of the Rings here, set your mountain on fire or have a volcano, but it is a sunset, so there might be a little bit of pink on that mountain reflection. Oh man, taking the littlest bit of red, blend it into my white here. Even that, you can see right here might even be a little too much pink. Add some more white. Nice little pink color. Now we want to slice and get a nice little roll of that off of there. Might hear my little snuffle up, I guess, in the background there, giving a little hoot and holler, missing her daddy, but that's okay. So I'm going to start here, and again, chicken wing it. You don't want to be pressing firm. You want this to be able to kind of roll and jitter off of your painting, so there's a little bit of break in the snow there, so it can create illusions, little crevices and craters and stuff like that. Again, my technique, not the best, but let's see how it works out. You know, sometimes, especially when you're a beginner doing the snow, I'm still trying to work it out. If you wind up with a little glob, you can try to give a little bit of slice with that knife to separate it a bit. Don't try to pull it, but maybe try doing a little slice. Don't be afraid to do lower peaks and valleys. Mountains aren't all uniform. Just start at the top and there's nothing at the bottom. Once in a while you get some peaks that kind of start part way through. There's another one living right there. You knew it, I knew it, we all knew it was just living there and just was waiting to pop out there for you. Ah, found another one. It was just sneaking in right over here. All right, so we got some nice little mountain range going there, but don't forget, when you're doing your snow, on the other side, there's going to be a little bit of shadow to that. So what we want to do is take a little bit of the red, a little bit of the Prussian blue, a little bit of the white to make our shadow side of the mountain. Don't need a whole lot of the red or the blue, but we'll show you how to do that. So again, healthy chunk of white. And I'm just blending with my knife right now. I do have a blender knife, but for this you can just use the knife that you're making your snow with. A little bit of that red. We're getting back into the pink color. A little darker, it's okay. Hint. Prussian blue. The Tigers are in the playoffs. They're going to beat them Seattle Mariners. Going to run through the Blue Jays, and we're World Series bound. Dedicate this painting to them. You can see how a little bit of blue is on that knife. Said it could be a monster, that blue. Same with the reds, same with the yellows. They can all just be a monster. See, it's already darkened it up a little more than I'd like. Take a bit more of that white again. Can't stress enough. Get yourself a giant tube of white. We're like talking fuel tanker truck size of tube on there. Again, some edits in this video, so kind of wiping off my knife in between. This side, I'm not going to chicken wing it so much. We're still going to do a little chicken wing, but it's slightly more of a scrape to make the shadow side. So we got this mauvey kind of color here. It might look like cotton candy on your mixing board. Again, Papa South, don't use palettes. Guy at the art store turned me on to this stuff that's like wax paper. It's great because when it's done, rip it off, or it's already on my second page here, and crumple it up, throw it in the garbage, good to go. Little roll of paint. Again, just try to remember the lay of the land with this. Not bad. That's probably one of my better mountain ranges that I've actually done. Pretty happy with that. We're going to leave that mountain alone. Just with the corner, your 2-inch blender brush. This is the only time I'm going to put paint on my blender brush that is dedicated for blending. Just a hint. Now you can see that is just a hint, and what we're going to do is tap the bottom of the mountain to create the illusion of mist. This is going to help separate the foreground from the background, create the illusion of distance as we go along. You can really give it a hard tap if you want. And then caress. You're gonna go up, do little, as Bob Ross would say, 2 hairs and some air, and just gently go up the side of your mountains. Again, keep the lay of the land in mind as you're doing this. And again, as we go along, that's going to help separate your foreground from your background, create the illusion of distance. Now, usually Papa South will do a couple of clouds before he does the lay of the mountains in there. Probably should have, but as Bob Ross says, there are no mistakes. There's only happy little accidents. So what we're going to do is just do some little trailing clouds today. Okay, for this, we're going to use a little bit of the Prussian blue, a little bit of the red, a little bit of the white. Make some bluish purpley clouds for the background there. Probably going to use all this white up. Now for this, no right or wrong as far as how the color is. You do want maybe a little darker, but you do it to your liking. I don't even mind leaving it a little marbled. Really hard to see right here, but it's a reddish, bluey kind of purple. It's a little darker. 2-inch brush. And if you do have a hard time getting your paint to stick on top of the other, as Bob Ross says, thin paint will stick to a thick paint. You can use a bit of thinner. I know I said in the last video, don't be using thinner. It's going to be cutting through your paint and all that. But if it's thick paint, you can use a little thinner to just thin it out. A little bit of purpley, dark purple color here. Just little circly motions. Clouds are free, so just let them kind of live wherever they want to. Got some nice little clouds going there. Same dirty brush. Gonna add a little bit of white to that purple color that we made. Maybe add a little purple to the white actually, just to tone it down a little bit. Corner of the brush. Just tiny little circles on the bottom. Adding paint between cuts. Now with the other side of the brush, the clean side of the brush, you can do a little blending. And just little tiny circles. Clouds are gentle, clouds are free. So just gentle, gentle. 2 hairs and some air. And with that, we got some nice little clouds for our painting here. Now you can start to see that yellow that I did earlier that wasn't really showing up. Now that we got some of the darker in there, you need the dark for the light to show up. So glad to see it starting to show up on the camera now. All right, Papa South is thinking, let's add a couple little footy hills there. We're gonna do it on this side of the mountain here, kind of stretch it over just slightly to help make it look a little bit more like it's in the foreground. With that, I'm going to take that same kind of purpley color we used for the clouds, add a little more Prussian blue to that, slightest hint of black. I don't even think you can see that on there, but a little bit of black. I think I've only done footy hills like once. Painting did turn out pretty good, but again, like a bit of old pipe. Pop South was a little rusty, so it's what we call a bravery test. If we don't like it, we can go over it. I'm going to use my thick filbert for this, and adding a little thinner again. My paints are a little thick and cold from being in storage still. Haven't heated them up, and also a thin paint will stick to a thick paint. Really hard to tell, but there's some color on there. Papa South, you've done it now. Blender brush, just like the mountains, we're going to pull it down just a little bit. And we got a bit of a hill there. Next trick to this, small filbert brush. And what we want to do is pull up as we go along. Make sure you're keeping straight, because it's going to give the illusion of tiny little trees at the top of this footy hill. And if you don't keep it straight, it's going to look like a hurricane's coming through. trees are going to get blown all the way to Nebraska, whether it's West Coast, East Coast. Papa said, don't know. The Nova Scotia, Newfoundland ended up here in Canada. I've gone from doing it the flat way to the straight way. Gives you different values in the trees. Now, as you can see, look, there's like a nice little tree ridge right there. A little bit excited on my end for that. Go back to my dedicated blender brush. All right, we really got a scene coming together here. Always like a good line of trees to separate the mountain, a bit of the footy hills here. So we're gonna come in, kind of cut through this way a little bit. Then we'll start making some land in our water. I think we're progressing pretty good on this one today. Really enjoying all the different colors blending in together. I know you can do it. Like I said, I never thought I could do it, but confidence in you, confidence in yourself. We're gonna get this done together. So this is from earlier when we first started. I'm gonna take some white here, add it to a bit of the color we made for the sky, blend it together, make a lightish kind of, a little more light purple than this. Want a nice faded color. Things will get darker as it comes to the foreground. I'm gonna blend that up and I'll show you what it's like on my brush. Use my smaller fan brush for this, stock it up with oodles of color. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna slice downwards as we go across. We're gonna come across from the mountain, a little bit in front of the footy hill. And again, that's gonna help create a little bit of distance in between all of that. And change the value and size on them. You know, trees aren't all uniform. And again, keep it straight, otherwise it'll look like you have a 1,000-mile wind going that way. We're just gonna keep coming across. Don't be afraid to put a couple bigger ones in there and tap in a couple little tiny branches just to show they're closer. And with that, you're just like making little kind of Z's with your paintbrush. And Papa South mentioned last week, sometimes what I like to do is grab one of my other knives and just kind of slice up and down. You can do it a little harder because it'll make some of the peaks a little more defined and look like you have a couple more trees hiding. Now, your dedicated blender brush, we're going to take some of this color, pull it down, go sideways, and we'll make the instant illusion of reflections in the water. When doing this, you do want to make sure you have as much paint, like if you cleaned off your brush earlier, try to make sure you got as much paint thinner out of it as possible. I can see a little bit of streaking on here. It's okay, it's not the end of the world, but again, I'm gonna do this with my blender brush, took a little bit of the extra color. Again, just kind of pull down. straight across. So as you can see, got a nice little reflection zone there. All right, so now we got to start thinking about what are we going to do as far as some more land in the foreground when things are a little bit more closer, a little bit more defined. So what Papa South is thinking today, maybe kind of a little inlet or island kind of area, maybe a little something in the corner here. We'll have some nice pine trees popping out and start to make some real definition in our picture here. So since I ain't doing any more mountains on this one, I'm going to take this piece of palette from earlier. I'm going to do a little Prussian blue, a little bit of black, blend that together. Might even add a little red to that. Healthy dose of the red there. I'm going to start bringing it together. Now on your screen, that's going to look probably a little more black, but as you can see the light reflecting, got some blue in there. Again, that sun's coming way from the back, so the stuff at the front, there's not going to be a whole lot of light hitting it from the front of, like if you're taking a picture, you're not going to have a whole lot of light hitting the things in the foreground because it's all coming from the background. And a lot of this is 2-inch brush today. Now we got to make some decisions. Where is this land living? Kind of like the footy hills, this is a bit of a bravery test. I noticed with Bob Ross over the years, I used to go like, oh man, like look at that streak you just put on there. What are you going to do with that? And the next thing you know, and you're making it look like something. So bravery test here. All right, it's living right here. And we're just kind of tapping along. And again, I know you're thinking, oh, Papa South, you have done it now, but we're going to turn this into something awesome and beautiful. Okay, so this is where your bright colors from earlier are really going to come into play. Again, you don't want to set your whole painting on fire, but what we're going to do, you can't have the light without having the dark. So now we're going to tap in some kind of grassy areas on top of these little pieces of land here. You'll see how it comes together. I'm going to take some of that red and some of that yellow. We want to try to keep it to the darker side just because, again, it's in the foreground with the light coming in from behind. Kind of like a blood orange kind of color here. 3-inch brush. We used this earlier on the sky. Still got a little pinkish in it, but that's neither here or there. We'll try to pull on one side, make it go. And it's kind of a little blend of colors in there. And you can just tap that really hard. You can start to see we got little grassy areas happening. Okay, still not really looking like a whole lot, but land mass is there again on your painting that you're doing at home. It's going to be a lot more clear. We'll make sure again, it's going to look like the painting that you see at the beginning of the video. We'll get a little more close-ups on that for you by the time it's all done. Now you got to start making decisions. Where do you want some trees? Where do you want some sticks, twigs, stuff like that living? So, couple of pine trees over here, a couple living on this one here, throwing some sticks, throwing some water lines, and believe it or not, I have a great looking painting when that's all done and said. Okay, so now you gotta start making the decisions. Where do you want the rest of your foreground? We're definitely gonna have some pine trees going through here, a couple going through here. We'll throw in some sticks, some little dewars, might even throw in a bit of a dead tree or something like that. That's always another bravery test. You get to some water lines, and then you're gonna go, oh my God, I actually have a complete painting. Got confidence that you can do this. So where did these pine trees live, you ask? On the end of your big fan brush. Now it looks like there's some blue on there, but this is completely dry. It's been cleaned from earlier. This brush is stained pretty easily. And for this, we're just going to be using some black. We'll load that fan brush up with some color and start making some decisions. Where does it live? Right here. That's right. You saw it. You knew it was living there. And then we're going to do a little bit of Z's with these the corners of your fan brush. Papa says switch into the smaller fan brush on this one here. Now, again, in the world of there are no mistakes, just happy little accidents. As Papa South is pulling away his brush, you got a little splatter on there. So we're gonna add a couple more. We're already gonna add a couple more trees, but might have to add a couple more yet after that, just to cover up some of that splatter. It's the beauty about this technique. If something you don't like, cover it right up. And again, just making little kind of Z's. Not as smooth and as fluent as Bob Ross, obviously, he's the master. So once in a while, I'll just go right back up. And if I see a spot that kind of looks a little bit bare, if I don't like it, you can leave it bare. Not every tree in nature is the same. Not every tree is going to have perfection to it. But to fill them out a little bit more, I'll just once in a while go back up on there. Let's give this guy a little friend over here. Don't want him to be lonely. And you know what? Found another one living right here. Now, as you're going along, if you're ever kind of wondering, like, well, you started off here, another one, now it's overlapping, now this one's overlapping, you'll decide which ones go in front once you put in the highlight color. Right now, you're just laying in some basic shapes for this. We're going to try working on some pine trees on the other side here. Now, as you can see, we're starting to create that illusion of distance. The plane in behind with the trees here, the footy hill, mountains, clouds, all starts to pull together. I think we have another one living just right in here. There it is. We don't want him to be lonely. We'll give him a little friend over here. let's make it Three's Company. Maybe even the fourth. Okay, so now we want to highlight some of these trees, some of the branches and all that. Make them pop just a little bit more than that, obviously. So again, we're going to go with the red, going to go with the yellow. Got kind of like a orangey sherbet kind of color going here. Probably going to have to mix up a little bit more of it. Add a little bit of thinner to that, because you want your paint to stick to the other paint. Again, the golden rule, thin paint will always stick to thick paint. Pull a little bit of the yellow, pull a little bit of the red from that pile there. Load her up with color. As you can see on that brush, it's a little marbled, so it might be uneven. That's going to make our painting pop just a little bit more. And this is where you start making some decisions of which ones live in front of where. Now you don't want to cover up all that darkness. You need some of that darkness to make the color really, really pop. So try to be gentle with it. And if you're not into the reds, you want to do some greens. This is your world. This is your painting. Again, I just kind of want to make it look like some of the light from the sunsets reflecting off of these trees. All right, for your next little test of bravery, add the slightest little bit of black to this. A little squiggle down here. Try to make like a rough kind of tree shape, nothing too major. What are you thinking? What are you doing, Papa South? Take that dedicated blender brush, pull. And some instant reflections, pull. Sideways. instant reflections. Again, pull the slightest bit here. Some nice little reflections going there. Liner brush. So this is where we're gonna add like maybe a little dead tree kind of hanging off the end of the inlet here, a couple of dewars, and we're getting close to having completed the painting. So what I'm gonna do, your liner brush is the only one where it's like really okay to get soaked in some paint thinner, because I'm gonna put it through some black paint, want to make it the consistency of ink, so I'm gonna keep on. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of keep pulling through here until it's the consistency of ink. I'm gonna put this down, but you got the idea. You want to just keep on rolling through it so you get a nice little sharp edge. Got another little one living in here. Take a little roll of red and yellow and just a bunch of little colors blended on my knife here. Gonna tap the slightest bit of highlight. Papa South not all too happy with this tree right here. Again, no mistakes, just happy little accidents. This pine tree, yeah, he was living right there the whole time. Load up with highlight color. Some of that yellow in there. The liner brush. Some of that highlight color and down here. I'm just going to pull. Pull. Again, got some instant shadows. With that, a little roll of white on the end of our mountain knife here. And start to cut in a bit of a water line. And with that, we pretty much got a finished painting. Take your liner brush with a little bit of red. Make your little signature in the corner. And with that, we have our sunset painting finished. We hope everybody enjoyed it today, that you were able to follow along with some of the steps, and with each painting you get better and better. I know you can do this. I believe in myself. I believe in you. We all believe in you. I know you can get this done. So from all of us here at Studio South, we have Podcast Patti, Technotions, the Resonator, Neon Tardis, Brass Lantern, and of course Papa South. Thank you for joining us. We wish everybody happy painting, and God bless everybody.